This episode of the D-Lew podcast is brought to you by Happy Wrap. You ever wanted to design your very own gift wrapping paper? Now is your chance to do so. Whether it's for the holiday season, weddings, anniversaries, birthdays, no matter what the occasion calls for, you can use Happy Wrap to wrap your gifts. As a matter of fact, you can even design notebooks, greeting cards, gift tags, and so much more. You can sign up today at happy.thedlewpodcast.com and use the promo code DLEW to get your 10% discount at checkout. Again, that's happy.thedlewpodcast.com and use promo code DLEW to get your 10% discount at checkout. By Simpler Hair Color. Hey guys, are you tired of using that drugstore hair dye brand that isn't getting the job done? If you want to use a great product to cover those grays, have no fear, Simpler Hair Color is here. No mixing, no dripping, no mess. It's super easy to use, whether you're a beginner or a pro. Go to simpler.thedlewpodcast.com and use promo code DLEW10 for your 10% discount at checkout. Again, that's simpler.thedlewpodcast.com and use my promo code DLEW10 for your 10% discount at checkout. And by WWE Shop with Fanatics. Get your favorite WWE superstars merchandise and wear them proud with superstars like the OTC Roman Reigns, Rhea Ripley, the Second City Saint CM Punk, John Cena, Main Event Jey Uso, the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes, and so many more. Oh, by the way, they got some really cool championship belts in there as well. So go to wrestling.thedlewpodcast.com. Again, that's wrestling.thedlewpodcast.com so you can go to WWE Shop with Fanatics. Welcome to another edition of the D-Lew podcast, powered by Believe Network and Siete Media. I'm your host, Derrick T. Lewis, and I hope the week is treating you all absolutely wonderful. I want to thank each and every one of you for your continuous support, for all of my endeavors, whether it's the D-Lew podcast, my music, pro wrestling, and even my acting career. Thank you all so much for that. Also, I want to apologize, for my language, on last week's episode. I think I did go a little too far, but, I was very, very upset. And I do want to thank Angie Stars and her husband, BX Sparks, for taking the time to come onto the show and give me their support, the support that I needed at the time, because, I was a little hurt about what would happen, but that's going to be the beginning and the end of that. I will not speak of that situation ever again. And we're definitely going to move forward from there. This past Saturday, I was in Paulsboro, New Jersey at the world famous Monster Factory. It was so good to get back in front of the Paulsboro faithful. For it was back to school beatings. It was an incredible show. Man, I was back in my groove, doing my thing in the wrestling ring, as the ring announcer. This is the second to last show at the Monster Factory location in Paulsboro because the Monster Factory school is moving. Where it's moving to, I don't know. You can definitely check out Monster Factory's social media, and Danny Cage will be able to update you all on that and where we're going to be. But of course, November 22nd, I'd be remiss if not to mention this date, because that's when we will step into the arena once again for Turkey Slam at the 2300 Arena, formerly known as the ECW Arena in South Philly. Tickets are on sale now. If you can go to 2300arena.com, go to events, the events tab, scroll down to Turkey Slam and get your tickets. You can see me and all the stars of the world famous Monster Factory do our thing down in South Philly. Well, before I get into the show in regards to what we're talking about with the, of course, Wrestlepalooza and AEW's All Out, we got to talk about what happened last Thursday in Las Vegas. The announcement, the big announcement that WrestleMania 43 will take place in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. That's right. Riyadh, Saudi Arabia will be the host city for WrestleMania 43 in the year 2027. There was a press conference, with Triple H, and there were several WWE superstars that were there. Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, Liv Morgan, Seth Rollins. The list goes on and on of these superstars that were in attendance for that press conference. But it was met with a lot of backlash. Now, obviously, the WWE has had the relationship with with the Saudis going back to 2018 when they did the very first, I guess you want to call it premium live event. It was, of course, it was on the WWE network, but it was the greatest Royal Rumble that took place in April of 2018, where, of course, Braun Strowman won that big green belt, and it was a 50-man Royal Rumble. That was crazy. That was crazy to watch. But it was met with backlash because, of course, what happened in Saudi many years ago when that journalist had got killed over there. And people never got over that. You know what I mean? I, for certain, have had my concerns about them going over to Saudi fairly recently when they had the King and Queen of the Ring event over in Saudi Arabia. And it was right after the Iranian thing was happening over, when there was all the conflict in the Middle East with Iran. And I feared WWE safety. I really, really did. They were hell bent on going, and it was met with a lot of backlash. And again, of course, WrestleMania is met with a lot of backlash. People are saying that London should have gotten the first WrestleMania was outside of North America because, again, there were only two WrestleManias that were outside of the United States. WrestleMania 6, that was back in 1990, and WrestleMania 18, that was back in 2002. London has been clamoring for WrestleMania for decades. For decades, London has been clamoring for it, and I thought they were going to be that host city outside of North America to get it. But rumor has it, and this is just rumor and innuendo, that the Saudis are paying $250 million to get the WWE to do WrestleMania. Word on the street is that the WWE is also getting $100 million for the Royal Rumble, which is taking place next year in Saudi Arabia also. So you're talking about a whopping $350 million for two events, basically a year and 3 months apart. That is insane. So the old adage is money talks, guys. And I mean, I understand where the frustration comes from. I really, really do. But when you think in terms of TKO, the company, this is not WWE. Nick Khan is the CEO of WWE. Yes, he is. But at the end of the day, he has to answer to his bosses, Mark Shapiro, Ari Emanuel. Those are the guys that are running TKO. They just came out about a week and a half ago talking about how the prices that the WWE had when VKM was running the company because he wanted families to attend. You ever notice back in the day, no matter what it was, the nosebleed seats, he always had $25 seats so people with families could go and experience the event. They may not be close, but they'll still be in the arena or the stadium. They can at least get the experience. No, 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 not TKO. TKO, they don't give a damn, ladies and gentlemen. They don't. Think about the prices for this past WrestleMania when they were in the Legion Stadium in Vegas. Those tickets for each night for nosebleeds were $500. They're talking about that the potentially the ringside seats for this coming WrestleMania are going to be close to $70,000 a ticket. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a down payment for a house. I would know a thing or two about that. And I get it. You want, celebrities there. You want people that are in a much higher tax bracket than the average wrestling fan, but you're going to be pricing out the wrestling fan, the hardcore fan. Now there are some hardcore fans that are in the world of entertainment, like your rappers or your social media influencers. You have Kai Cenat, you got Drewski, I Show Speed, what I'm saying, those guys. And of course you got rappers like Metro Boomin and you got Fabulous. You got a lot of rappers that grew up on wrestling, and that's cool. You know what I'm saying? But $70,000 for a ringside seat, it is ridiculous. So who knows what's going to happen? But for WrestleMania 43, this is where it gets really, really dicey because I'm not sure if you listen to this show, if you know or you don't know, but Mania Week has become its own thing, right? So no matter what city that WrestleMania is going to be in, the entire industry is going to be there. The independent circuit, your big indie companies, GCW might run a show, TNA might run a show. I know ROH ran a show in Philly. Was it last year when I went to WrestleMania 40? So you have a lot of independent companies that will kind of piggyback off the fact that there's going to be close to 100,000 fans in that city. Of course, for WrestleMania and all of the events that WWE is going to have in that area. Now, going to Saudi Arabia, that is going to be a huge task, which means I don't think a lot of indie companies are going to go. I'm going to be honest. Now, maybe GCW might pull it off and go, but for the most part, I don't think that a lot of independent companies are going to go, which leaves me with this thought. I thought about it. I've heard, I've heard of this idea, so I didn't come up with the idea, but I'm just going to just say it anyway. This is where AEW has an opportunity to strike pro wrestling gold. I'm going to tell you why. Because you see, WrestleMania, being that it's going to be in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, they will be 7 hours ahead from the East Coast here in the United States. So New York City, it'll be a 1 p.m. start in New York City and probably an 8 p.m. start over there in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. AEW, they have a pay-per-view in the month of April. Actually, this year I covered it. Dynasty. Now, that being said, if Tony Khan wants to really make some noise, here's what I would do. I would hold Dynasty in a big wrestling city. You name it. Boston, New York City area, or even Philadelphia, or even Washington, D.C. Somewhere on the East Coast where a lot of independent companies can operate and do their thing that weekend. So you figure if AEW decides to run Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York, which I think they may be able to get that building because I don't think nothing's going on there. If they were able to secure that building, you're talking about how many indie companies can run? House of Glory can run. Shout out to the Amazing Red. Um, GCW. Man, there are so many Pro Wrestling Magic. The list goes on and on of so many independent shows that people can run over that weekend where AEW can hold their shows they can hold that show at night. Now, obviously, Wrestle Dynasty is not, I mean, not Wrestle Dynasty, but just AEW Dynasty is not going to be a 2-night event. It's going to be a 1-night event. If I were them, I would do it on that Sunday night. Why? Because you figure everybody can get the opportunity to do their shows that Saturday night after WrestleMania goes off, right? You figure they could do it on a Friday night, but you figure Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and maybe have no Sunday show because you figure WrestleMania night 2 will be on that Sunday afternoon, and then Dynasty could be that night. So I think this is a huge opportunity. Tony Khan, you have a year and a half. You have a year and a half to make this happen. I'm pulling for you to do this. I really, really am. Because I think this is really going to show that you're here to play hardball. WWE, and whether they want to admit it or not, they have they have counter programmed your pay-per-views, your shows since you've been in existence. Most recently, All In when we were in Dallas. As a matter of fact, this coming weekend in Toronto at All Out, which I will be there in attendance covering. Thank you, AEW. Thank you, crew, for allowing your boy to come back and cover. Tony Khan had to move the show back to 3 p.m. because Wrestlepalooza is going to be on at 8 o'clock and their first PLE on the ESPN app. So, again, I think this is where it gets really interesting, and hopefully everybody can win in this scenario. Everybody can win. The indie circuit can a lot of indie wrestlers that I know can get their bookings for Mania week or Dynasty week, whatever you want to call it. And everybody can enjoy wrestling because I know for damn sure there's going to be a lot of watch parties, for WrestleMania, being that it's going to be overseas. So we will put a pin in that. Well, of course, this Saturday is going to be AEW All Out, emanating from Scotiabank Arena, formerly known as the Air Canada Center. in beautiful Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I can't believe I get to go back to the six T dot TO, whatever you want to call it. I'm getting to go back to Toronto, Canada, and cover AEW. This is the first time I'm actually covering an event outside of the country. So thank you, Tony Khan. Thank you, AEW, for the gesture. I'm be forever indebted to you guys. But there are a lot of matches, ladies and gentlemen. There are 13 matches on the card. Three of them, of course, is the dark match is on the pre-show rather, and 10 of them are going to be on the main card. It's a 3 p.m. start, as I mentioned um, in the early part of my soliloquy regarding the whole WWE counter programming AEW, but the actual the start of the actual pre-show starts at 1 p.m. So I'm going to go over all these matches here, and I know it's going to start off with an 8-woman tornado tailgate brawl, which consists of Harley Cameron, Mina Sharakawa, Queen Aminata, and Willow Nightingale as they take on Megasis, Megan Bayne, Penelope Ford, and the Triangle of Madness, which consists of Julia Hart and Sky Blue. Now, again, it's going to live up to the hype. It's a tailgate brawl, so it's going to be everything, including the kitchen sink and some maple syrup, because we're in Canada, of course. I definitely see the baby faces walking out with this one. Of course, you want to kick off that pre-show off right. And honestly, I have a soft spot for my good friend Willow Nightingale. She's been doing her thing in AEW, and she's been one of the true faces, of that women's division. And they've been really starting to step it up with their women's division. I'm happy to see that the AEW is recognizing that they have so much talented women there. They need to be utilized. You know what I mean? And I'm hopeful for some championship gold in the future of Miss Nightingale. So let's see about that. Also, we have Daniel Garcia, who is now a new member of the Death Riders, as he's going to be taking on Mr. Shibata. Of course, when I'm thinking of Daniel Garcia now being a heel, the fact that now he's with, John Moxley and the crew, you know, I can't see him losing this match. They're definitely going to up his stock a little bit, and I can definitely see Daniel Garcia walking out with the victory here. And of course, the final match of the pre-show, which is the Ops, um, Powerhouse Hobbs and Samoa Joe, and they're taking on the Workhorsemen. That's Anthony Henry and JD Drake. I have a huge problem, man. Why in the world is Samoa Joe constantly either opening the show or is on the pre-show? I have a huge problem with that. I'm sorry. I have been again a big Samoa Joe fan since the days of Ring of Honor and TNA, and even now, I don't want to care about age because age don't matter to me. The guy can still go, and the ops they're actually, these are guys are champions. Like, why aren't they being utilized in the middle of the show or something of that order? I don't know, but I can't see Powerhouse Hobbs and Joe losing this match. They will win. A nice way to end the pre-show. And as we get on to the start of the show now, the main card. Now, I don't think that this is going to be in any particular order. This is the way I see it right now, but I'm sure, per show time, the match is going to be in a much, much different order. But, there's the hometown boys, Toronto's own Adam Copeland and Christian Cage, as they take on FTR with Big Stokely Hathaway. The promo from the other night, because I'm taping this on a Thursday afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's gonna be hot off the press the minute that you get it. I had some stuff to do last night and I could not record. This is why I'm recording today. So the promo that I call him Edge, sorry, but Adam Copeland was talking to Stokely. He said, "That's why you don't get any hoes." That was pretty funny. But in regards to who's going to win this match, I see FTR winning this match and Christian Cage turning on Copeland. I just don't see this happy ending happening. I could be totally wrong. Again, this is just how I view things. But if you want to start off and if you want to get some heat, I'm not saying this is going to be the first match on the card, but if you still want to get some more heat, on FTR and Christian, You have Christian turn on edge, and they do the beatdown in his hometown of Toronto. My opinion. I think FTR is going to win the match, and I think this is going to propel them in getting back into that AEW World Tag Team Championship picture, I think. And it'll really give them some steam heading on into the remainder of 2025. Next match is it's a trios match, actually. It's the GOA. That's Bishop Khan and Toa Leona, along with Ricochet, and they're taking on the entire Hurt Syndicate, which is consisting of Bobby Lashley, Shelton Benjamin, and MVP. MVP is stepping back into the ring. So happy to see him back in there. I wish MVP was wrestling regularly, and I understand he's trying to just bring, kind of scale it back a little bit into the managerial role. But MVP has ton in the tank. Why not put the TBS title on him? Oh, not TBS, the TNT title on him. Why not? I could totally see that. But this trios match, they're going to be taking on, like I said, three unlikable guys. They're obviously Ricochet's doing his best character work yet. I really enjoy what Ricochet is doing. He's found his character. He's molding it in what he thinks it is. Because in the other company, I don't think he was allowed to do as much. It's just do the high fly, flippy stuff, and that's it. And send people home happy. But with AEW, I really felt as though he's found his niche. He found his niche audience that can buy into what he's doing. Good on him. I'm really happy for him. But that being said, they hurt people, and I think they're going to hurt Ricochet really, really bad. And the Hurt Syndicate is going to walk out as victors. The next is for the TBS Championship. Mercedes Moné, the CEO, is going to be challenged by Riho, who was the very first AEW Women's Champion. Now, again, Mercedes to me, is one of the best wrestlers in the world. I'm not saying best women's wrestler. No, I truly believe she's one of the best wrestlers in the world today because what she's able to do, not just from an in-ring psychology perspective, but just her character and how she molds that into what she's doing in the ring. And she brings the best out of people, whoever she's in the ring with. I got to give her flowers because I truly feel that her leaving the WWE was probably the best thing that could have happened to her so she can really hone her craft away from the system that I felt helped build her. They helped build her. She was there for a very, very long time. And it was time for her to leave. It was time for her to go and spread her wings because a lot of people did it and they came back. So, that being said, Mercedes Moné will continue her reign of terror, not stealing belts. That's a bad word to say. The belt collector, I should say. She's collecting belts right now. So she's up to what, 9 belts now, 10 belts, whatever it is. And I'm pretty sure she's going to come out with all of those championship belts in Toronto this weekend at AEW All Out. Well, there is a coffin match that is going to take place at All Out with the recently descended from Mount Everest, Darby Allin, taking on the leader of the Death Riders, John Moxley. Um, I don't know how I feel about this match because I know Mox, he just lost the title a couple of months ago. I'm not sure if they want to put him back in that championship picture yet, or he just wants to just work a little underneath the main event spot right now, even though they're getting a lot of TV time. Because let's be clear, ladies and gentlemen, I don't care where you are on the card on a pay-per-view. If you're on weekly television and you're constantly being seen by the viewing public, that's a very, very good thing. And the Death Riders are constantly on television. So that being said, it's going to be a dogfight. I mean, it's really going to be a dogfight. I mean, we're probably going to see blood because whenever there's a John Moxley match, he's going to bleed, and somebody else is going to bleed too. So I see John Moxley winning this match somehow, some way, with the help of the Death Riders, and I think it's going to prolong the feud. This is not going to be the end of the feud by a long shot, so stay tuned for that. Um, there's a tables and thumbtacks match between Mark Briscoe and MJF. Now, if you guys didn't watch AEW Dynamite last night, MJF was trying to plead his case with Tony Khan. He was arguing in the office, and he was raising some cane. Let me tell you, the language is pretty strong, and he gets out of there and slams the door. He basically wanted to get out of the match, and he says something of, "It's going to be two Briscoes in the dirt, and it's going to be on your hands." That I was like, "Damn, ugh, man, that was harsh," but that's going to be another one, and I think the coffin match and this match I think is going to be spread out because I'm sure there's going to be when you're dealing with a thumbtacks and all that stuff and tables, it's going to be a lot of fighting. It's going to be a lot of brawling. It could be some blood too. So I think having those matches, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 matches apart, because this is a 10 match show on the main card. So I think to not how do I put it, desensitize the fan of shock and awe of what they see in either one of these matches, whichever comes first. I think it needs to be spread apart. But because MJF is still on that trajectory of trying to get back to the world title, I do see MJF weaseling his way into winning the tables and thumbtacks match. Up next is the AEW Women's World Championship match. It's a four-way, I might add. It's the champion, Timeless Tony Storm, defending against Jamie Hayter, Chris Statlander, and Thekla. Now, Thekla's been making a lot of noise, ever since she got signed to AEW. I like her work. I like her presentation. I like her style. It's really, really good. Again, another piece of depth to that AEW women's roster. It's huge. Like I said about the Mercedes match, this only going to go up from here of how much we're going to see the women, you know, continue to hone their craft and to be seen, on AEW television. Now, as much as I don't want to see Tony Storm lose the championship, it is a four-way match, and she doesn't have to get pinned. So, that being said, I could see Jamie Hayter regaining the Women's World Championship of AEW in this four-way match at All Out. You heard it first. You probably heard it on another podcast, but I think Jamie Hayter is going to reclaim and regain her championship from Tony Storm, but not by pinning Tony Storm. She may pin Statlander or she may pin Thekla. Who knows? But of course, you want to protect the champion. Or, well, Tony Storm, you want to protect her because that is one of the best characters, probably the best character right now in AEW. And we could put a pin on that match. So we have a three-way match for the AEW Unified Championship, where Mr. Okada will defend against Takeshita and Mascara Dorada. For me, I'm torn because I would have loved to have seen just Okada and Takeshita as a one-on-one match. That's just my opinion. I would have loved to have seen that. But either way, I'm not seeing Okada losing. I just don't see it happening. I think they have so much invested in Okada that by him, he just won this title, was it 2 months ago, when he unified the Continental and the International title. So I definitely see Okada retaining the championship. Next, we have a returning Eddie Kingston, Yonkers' own. He's taking on Big Bill. I love the tweet that Eddie Kingston put out in regards that he's healed up, he's cleared, told Big Bill to sign up for the match, and here we go. It's gonna be a lot of emotion. One thing I like about Eddie Kingston that he speaks from the heart. Whether you like it or not, he is who he is, and not all heroes wear Timbs, but Eddie Kingston does. And I don't see Eddie Kingston coming back to lose. That man has so much to gain. He lost so much when he got injured. Now he wants to get it all back. So Eddie Kingston is going to come back to the six and start his win streak, start his winning ways, so to speak, and defeating Big Bill. We have a four-way ladder match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships. We have Brodito, the champions, that's Brody King and Bandito. The Young Bucks, Jet Speed, that's Kevin Knight and Speedball Mike Bailey. And two members of the Don Callis family, Heshiseto and Josh Alexander. Now, of course, in a ladder match, what's the objective? Climb up the ladder and get the titles. Now I do see where the Young Bucks are back. Now that they got some money back, I think, and their graphic is back on the screen on television now. Nicholas and Matt Jackson, the Young Bucks. The Young Bucks are going to get their championships back this weekend, climbing that ladder and grabbing those belts. I think it's time to put the titles back on them, and then we can see which other babyface tag team is going to chase them now. Honestly, it could be Jet Speed, and I like them. The Jet Speed and the Young Bucks. That will be the most prototypical AEW tag team match with the flipping and the flying and everything else, including the kitchen sink in a match like that. I would love to see Jet Speed chase the Young Bucks, with them being with the titles. So we'll definitely put a needle on that match. And of course, which I think is going to be the main event, it's going to be for the AEW World Championship. It's going to be Hangman Adam Page defending against the TNT champion, the Protostar, Kyle Fletcher. Now, the stipulation is any member of the Don Callis family interferes, Kyle Fletcher will be disqualified and stripped of the coveted AEW TNT Championship. Now, obviously, there was a match that was supposed to have happened. Of course, that individual is injured. So here we are. So Kyle Fletcher is stepping up to the plate, which I think is good, for him. I'm assuming this is going to be the main event. So this will be Kyle Fletcher's first main event on pay-per-view. So for those that are watching AEW for the very first time, we'll get an opportunity to see how talented this dude is. Listen, he won an award last year on this show. I believe he won the Rising Star of the Year, whichever it was. But Kyle Fletcher is the real deal, and I've been saying this for months. And people are going to see. I don't think, of course, Hangman's going to retain the championship, but the match is going to be a lot better than people are thinking because when you automatically have in your mind, I don't know how this match is going to go. You're gonna be very, very surprised, very surprised on just how much quality you're going to see in this match. Just my opinion. So that's gonna do it for AEW All Out in Toronto. And again, I'm really excited, to be in attendance and cover, attend the media scrum for that. So, because of course I will not be in Indianapolis for WrestlePalooza, and we're gonna start with that. I'm just gonna pull this up here, and here we go. So WrestlePalooza, man, because I was thinking that they were going to have more than just five matches, but as of right now, as I'm recording this on a Thursday afternoon, that's exactly what we're going to have. So you're on the ESPN app in the United States, and of course on Netflix internationally, you'll get to see, these five matches. And I'm going to start off. As a matter of fact, it was just announced today on the Pat McAfee show that the opening match for this PLE will be Brock Lesnar taking on John Cena. Now, on this farewell tour, obviously, we've seen John Cena face Randy Orton, CM Punk. Obviously, he won the title from Cody Rhodes. The list goes on and on. He just wrestled Sami Zayn recently on SmackDown. That match was incredible, really, really good. He wrestled Logan Paul, which I mean, damn, I mean, as much as I dislike Logan Paul, I mean that match was one of the best of John's career, and I'm admitting that, and I'm saying that. But Brock and John Cena have so much history. We all know about that legendary class of 2002 coming out of OVW. With Brock and John Cena, Batista, Randy Orton, and Shelton Benjamin. You can never forget about Shelton because Shelton was probably the most athletic of all the five of those that came out of the of OVW. And it's funny, a lot of people compared that rookie class to the class of '96 in the NBA draft with Kobe and Allen Iverson, Stephon Marbury, Ray Allen, Steve Nash, Peja Stojakovic. You know what I mean? So many talented cats that came out of that class and in the NBA draft that it's comparable to this class because I mean, my God, I think it's like 47 world championships that came out of that class when you talk about Batista, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, and Randy Orton. That is crazy. The 2002 class should be in the WWE Hall of Fame. I'm just saying. But with that history, with that being said, about that history, I mean, again, a lot of folks aren't too happy about Brock being back. I'm sorry, people that are in the know, right? There's a lot of allegations, made against Brock, about, some things. And I'll leave it at that. But nonetheless, the majority are happy to see him back, being back on TV. I was a bit confused about the promo with him and R-Truth this past Friday on SmackDown, but I guess it's to get people to buy, or not buy, but well, I guess technically buy, because for people that don't have cable, they would have to spend 29.99 on the ESPN app. That's just the way it goes. But Cena's not winning this match. I cannot see John Cena winning this match. Brock is going to get him. Brock is gonna beat him down. Now, I was listening to Busted Open Radio a few days ago, and somebody had a really good idea about how Brock can win the match, but Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed can come in to do a beatdown on Cena, and then Brock helps Cena, thus setting up a tag team match with Brock and Cena versus Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed. I kind of like that idea. I don't know what the dude's name is. I forgot where he was from. But as I was listening to the show, I'm like, yo, dude, that sounds like a really dope idea. If you can have the the OVW class and this new NXT class with Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, I could dig that. Maybe have that match over in Australia next month. I could dig that, and thus that can lead us into Survivor Series. So we'll see. But Brock is definitely walking out with the victory, at WrestlePalooza. Um, there's the vacant women's world championship match between Io Sky and Stephanie Vaquer. Um, I loved Io Sky's reign as champion. I think there should have been more matches, to be honest with you. But I think they're gonna pull a swerve, and I think she's going to do it. And I'm talking about Stephanie Vaquer. She's going to be the brand new WWE Women's World Champion. Because, again, she's somebody that really, really worked hard to get to where she is. I mean, I think she took less money to go to WWE rather than sign with AEW. So that just goes to show you where she truly wanted to be to hone her craft. I mean, I put you this way. She was so good. She wasn't in NXT long. Julia wasn't there long either. So in my mind, I think this is going to be a shock to a lot of people, but I think it's going to be well deserved for Stephanie Vaquer. So I think she's going to walk out as the women's world champion. So we'll see what happens and what's going to be on the horizon. Who are they going to line up, for challenges? Maybe it could be Asuka could be her first challenger. Who knows? Because obviously there's that dissension right now with Io Sky and the Kabuki Warriors. So a lot of stories to be told in this match. So we'll see. We'll put a bow on that one. There's a tag team match with the Usos taking on the Vision, Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker. I know I mentioned them before, and again, that's just an idea. I don't think I don't think that's going to happen, but it's an idea. It is an idea for that to just to see, just to see what happened. But there's again dissension with the Usos again. You know, it all started because Roman Reigns was in Jey Uso's ear a few weeks ago about how, you got to start doing things for yourself. Doing things for yourself. So, I don't know. There could be some inadvertent stuff that happens with the Usos and Division gets the win. Because right now you want to make sure and solidify that this heel group that they're putting a lot of TV time, a lot of money into gets the shine that they need. Because the Usos are Teflon, the Usos are made. They don't have to win. Win or lose, the Usos are still going to yeet and they're still going to do their thing. And the fans are still going to love them. But this is leading to something where I think Jay is going to eventually turn heel, man. The writing's on the wall. I could totally see it. So, and of course, the match that everybody is talking about, the mixed tag team match of Becky, the women's intercontinental champion Becky Lynch, and the world's heavyweight champion, her husband Seth Rollins, taking on CM Punk and his wife, the returning AJ Lee. Now, I didn't get a chance to talk about AJ Lee's return on this show due to some things I had to talk about last week, which again, I'm not going to ever talk about again. But first and foremost, let me just say I was on the edge of my sofa because it was probably the worst kept secret in the world that AJ Lee was coming back. It was the worst, but nonetheless, just to hear that music, light it up, and a little tear came out of my eye because it was so good to see her on TV. You know, I had a chance to meet her 8 years ago at her book signing in New York City, which, by the way, is called Crazy is My Superpower. I urge you all to get it. I don't care if you're on or you're not on your mental health journey. I think it is a great read. And if you aren't sure about one's mental health journey and what people go through, I urge you to really to really give it a read and you can fully understand what folks go through. I myself, as a mental health advocate, can totally attest to that. And some of the similar struggles that she went through, I went through. So definitely give that a read. But it was so good to see her back. You know, she's cutting a promo and all that to really set up this match, this tag team match. And Division won early in the night, like I told you they were going to, and I totally see Becky and Seth winning this match. Becky getting the pin on AJ, all right, but Becky doing some underhanded things to get the win, foot on the rope, grabbing the tights, whatever the case may be. And I think this could pop, probably, hopefully set up something down the line with AJ Lee and Becky Lynch one on one. Whether it's, I don't know, Survivor Series, Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, whatever it might be, give her a chance to get the ring rust off. I mean, I'm sure AJ Lee's been training, but to really get the real reps in the ring, that match, that singles match, should be somewhere down the line. And of course, the main event is going to be Cody Rhodes and Drew McIntyre for the Undisputed WWE Championship. You know, it was so good to see Cody back on TV. I know he was away filming Street Fighter, and by the way, congrats to him and his beautiful wife Brandy on the birth of their brand new little girl. Now Cody has two baby girls to take care of, him and Brandy. So best wishes to them. Um, but like I said, he just got done filming Street Fighter. I know Roman is still filming his scenes, but when Cody won the title back at SummerSlam, if somebody had asked me who's going to be the first contender, who's going to be the first challenger that Cody's going to have to face, and I automatically said Drew McIntyre. That's the only guy I think right now that is a huge threat to Cody's WWE Championship. And like I said, they can get some serious mileage out of this run. Now, here's the thing. I'm not, I wouldn't be mad if Drew wins the title. I wouldn't be mad because maybe they could hot potato the thing. Maybe Drew can have it a couple months, and then Cody wins it back, let's say at the Rumble. All right. So in that way, that can give Cody the setup to main event another Mania and taking on whoever wins the Royal Rumble, whether it's a returning Roman Reigns, whether it's CM Punk, or whoever that's going to challenge Cody for the title of WrestleMania. I would love to hear your thoughts on that. So on that take, because I just can't see anybody else right now with the title besides, I mean, in regards going into WrestleMania next year, besides Cody Rhodes. Just my opinion. Well, I'm going to tie a bow on WrestlePalooza. And again, if you guys haven't done so already, make sure you sign up for the ESPN app. It's $29.99. I'm not being paid to say that. I'm just letting you guys know where you can find it. If you're listening to this internationally, it'll be on your Netflix. You could watch it on Netflix, internationally, which is kind of unfair in a way because if you're paying for one platform internationally, but here in the States, we got to pay for several. That's crazy. But anyways, that's going to do it for this week. Like I said in the beginning of the show, make sure you subscribe on all platforms, including my YouTube channel. You can go follow the D-Lew podcast on all social media platforms at the D-Lew podcast. Follow my media company, Siete Media, on all platforms at Siete Media. And of course, you can follow me on all platforms at The Real D-Lew, with the exception of Facebook, which is Derrick T. Lewis official page. You can hit up my Pro Wrestling Tees store, where I sell my wrestling themed t-shirts over at pwt.derricklewis.com. And of course, you can go to the Derrick T. Lewis official merchandise store, where you can get the official the official Nike merch. I'm sorry about that. The official Nike merch over at shop.derricklewis.com. Well, I'm going to get out of here, ladies and gentlemen. And as I always say, no matter what it is you do in life, always remember to make it count. And if you're going to Toronto this weekend, I'll see you at AEW's All Out. See you next time.